One of the biggest issues facing social media PR specifically is objective settings and metrics. There's a great quote from a Google analyst that social media is a bit like teen sex, as in that every teenager wants to get out there and do it, but once it's done, they're surprised that it's not better. And I guess, the point I'm trying to make here is because a lot of people rush into it and they don't necessarily say, look, what are the objectives? What am I trying to achieve with what I'm doing here? Therefore, once I've established what I'm trying to achieve here, how am I then going to measure that? And these two bits together, perhaps if you need to go and talk to a senior stakeholder or a member of the board about this, being able to say, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to measure it, makes it a much more appetizable proposition for said board member or said stakeholder. So you need to look at what you're doing. Part of that objective settings ultimately needs to be, who am I talking to? And it seems like a funny thing to say, and that perhaps you've already done that, but if you look at standardized PR, we're often almost thinking about the media. I'm talking to a technology correspondent, or I'm talking to a mainstream consumer journalist on a tabloid or what have you. But it's ultimately, who am I talking to from an audience point of view? Because social media PR or digital PR often bypasses traditional media and talks directly to that end consumer. So identifying who you're talking to will then lead you on to your objectives. So, for example, is Twitter the right platform to talk to a bunch of engineers that are specifically looking at data security? If you look at the numbers on Twitter at the moment, they're not as high as people think they are, whereas Facebook is around about 200 million people globally. Let's say Facebook is between 6 and 10, Twitter is between 6 and 10, How many people do we think are going to be sitting there of that segment in the UK using that? Therefore, is it worthwhile us going down that route? So understanding that audience and saying, what do I want to ultimately do here, allows you to set the measurement techniques and metrics. So, for example, I want to gain more influence for my brand. One of the biggest influencing platforms I have? Well, it's my blog. So therefore, what you should be doing is, wherever possible, getting your spokespeople or your communication to link through to that blog. Perhaps using a trackable URL like Bitly, perhaps using code within your own blog. Google Analytics code can do this for you. Or perhaps if you've got standardized VPO rooms, virtual press office rooms, that you can create specific URLs for PR use where you can track it. You could then say between X point and X point, my URL or my efforts here increase the blog readership or subscriptions by 25%. Perhaps we directly want PR to impact sales here. So what you need to do is provide more information on sales, more impact to that sales function. So whether it be fill in this feedback form for more information, or talk to our spokesperson on Twitter. The increase in follows on said spokesperson's Twitter feed in a given period, or an increase in people filling in that feedback form, are easy ways to start and manage these metrics. I mean, these are quite quantitative metrics, which I guess we all know is the ones that really get people to buy in. There are a bunch of qualitative metrics that you can look at, like loyalty and passion and conversations around brand. But ultimately, what it usually comes back to is the quantitative, which is where social media PR and social media in broader terms has struggled at times. So thinking about what you want to do, who your audience is, and setting those metrics specific to that. So thinking about the stuff like the blog URL, thinking about the Twitter feeds. But if you've got a very healthy SEO program on, could it be how many times you're integrating said keywords into your communications as part of a metric? Those kind of things are able to show tangible results and give you, more importantly, numbers, so that when you're sitting there next to the advertising guys at the table or their wider marketing team, you're able to say, this is what we did this month, this is what we did this week, and here are the numbers to show what we've done.